So we're going to go ahead and go. And I just want to welcome all of you to this morning's webinar. It's kind of a webinar slash training on newsletter. And I just want to give you a heads up as to how we planned this. Marilyn and I put this together. We did send out a newsletter survey a while ago, asking what it is that you are having issues with. What do you need to know about? And so what we did was we took all of the responses that you provided for us, and some of you submitted responses to that survey. And then we also took some of the, on the registration, the Google form registration, one of the questions is, do you have any questions or what would you like training on? So we took that information as well. And we tried to tailor these two trainings, today's and there's a different one on Friday, around what it is that you wanted us to present to you. Okay, so again, trying to meet your needs the best that we can and address any questions that you have. So without further ado, let me try this again. I'm going to share my screen. And we'll get going here. So this is part one on let's talk about newsletters. Part one is basically a combination of presenting information to you and then answering questions at the end. I think most, if not all of you, know both me and Marilyn Smith. We do most of these trainings. So we're going to be kind of going back and forth on this. The one on Friday will be a live demonstration. I'm going to be going live and showing you how to do some of the things that we're talking about today. So, and Marilyn usually fields all the questions, so that will be on Friday, but she'll be presenting part of this presentation today. You have 3 handouts that you could print if you wanted to. One is a PowerPoint PDF. Some people like to have that so they can see that and use that as a reference later. You also have a note-taking guide that has 3 slides on each page and then a place to take some notes. But those slides are tiny. That's why I sent you the PDF of the PowerPoint. And the third is, this is an information sheet about division newsletters. This comes directly from the CTC handbook, okay? Pages 30 through 32. So you may want to go into your handbook, or you might want to print these out. That's a pretty good guideline for putting together your newsletters. So those are the handouts that you have, hopefully. We're going to address questions at the end, but as we go through, if you have questions, go ahead and type those in the chat, okay? Or you can just, write them down and remember them and bring them up at the end, but we're going to go straight through. So let me go to the next slide. First thing I want you to understand is that we have a lot of resources already on putting together newsletters. These are 4 videos. Okay, newsletter tips 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each of them covers different information that could be very, very helpful for you. These are no more than 15 minutes in length, so they're not long webinars. These can be found on the CalRTA YouTube channel. So if you're not sure how to get there, go either into your division webpage or the CalRTA state webpage. And in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see that YouTube icon. Just click on the YouTube icon, and then you're going to click playlists, okay, playlists, and then search for the how-to videos. And you're going to probably see my face on one of the videos. So go in there But these, I think, are very, very helpful. Newsletter tips number 1 was viewed by a number of people. So I know that it was accessed, but not too many people have viewed these other 3. But they do get into more of the details of putting together your newsletter. Down here, of course, text options, clip art, article lengths, bylines, how to use a pull quote. Those are those quotes that are stuck in the middle of the text. Writing headlines. Over here on number 3, this is using hyperlinks and QR codes. And a lot of these things, a lot of these topics are the topics that you all have asked questions about, okay? Placement of photos. Where's the best place to put photos on a page? How to use wrap text. And I'm going to be showing you how to use wrap text on Friday, okay? Wrap text, some of you have had trouble placing photos in a Word document. You can't move it around, or it's like the image has a life of its own and it decides it wants to move random when you're trying to create something. So that's where that wrap text comes in. Number 4 is fairly short. I think this one is only about, well, no, it's about 15 minutes, but it talks about how to convert something from Word to or Publisher to a PDF, uploading that to your division website using the dashboard, or uploading it to Facebook. So take a look at these. I suggest that you view them. I think that they would be very, very helpful. And it might reinforce something, some of what we're going to be talking about today. So one of the questions that we, Marilyn and I get asked a lot is, well, what's the best program to use to put together our newsletter? Well, it basically is personal preference and what you feel comfortable using. Most of us are familiar with Microsoft Word. Many of us started using Word, we were typing, whatever, essays or whatever, any kind of written narratives and things like that. Well, that is what Microsoft Word was created for. Microsoft Word was not created for publishing newsletters or flyers or, using different layout designs. It is basically a word processing program. So if you are creating or you're working on your newsletter using Microsoft Word, you might run into some issues along the way. The good thing about Microsoft Word is that, as you can see over here, now I have added a couple little things in my PowerPoint, so if you don't see these words on your copy, go ahead and write it in if you want to, but I added a couple things for clarity. You can use Microsoft Word if you are a Mac user or a PC user. So that's the bonus there. But as I said before, it's not designed for creating newsletters. It can be problematic. Sometimes you can't adjust things the way you would like. You don't have freedom of movement to move things around as easily. I started my newsletter for Division 33 using a Word program, and there were times when I was so exasperated that I had to delete everything and start all over again. And it was very, very frustrating. And then I think it might have been Marilyn who said, well, Publisher's out there. And I said, what's Publisher? I had never heard of it. So she told me I knew that I had it because I had Windows 365 and Microsoft Windows 365. And I found Publisher, watched some tutorials that they have, and I've been using it ever since. So I too found Word to be problematic in trying to put together a newsletter. So if you're going to use Microsoft Word, and this is something, or you're going to design a new newsletter, or you're new to being a newsletter editor, you just go into Word just like you normally do. You just log on to Word And one of the options is, yes, you can start with a blank document, but note too that they have templates that you can use. So you don't necessarily need to start from scratch. Now this says traditional newspaper, but I'll show you on the next slide that this looks like a lot of the newsletters that I see in divisions around the state. So you can start with that, or you can go over here where it says more templates in that lower right-hand corner, okay? So say I wanted to use this template that I just showed you on the previous screen. Okay, as you can see, this is very similar to templates that you've seen in other newsletters. Up here, you have your heading, you can put your date, you have 3-column format, you have place for images and things like that. So this is a typical basic 3-column format for a newsletter, even though it says traditional newspaper. Okay, over here, this usually tells you what this kind of a publication is good for. Okay, so read this. When you're ready to customize, you simply click this create button, and it brings up, it downloads this template for you and opens it up for you. Huh. Now there are some problems that go along with this. And I worked on this template. So I'm just going to tell you what my experience was in working on the template. So I could click on where it says news today, and that's like a text box. Now that's fine and dandy. I could delete it. I could type it. I could just backspace and delete the words news today. I can add in my newsletter title. I can click on this and I can change the text. I can click on this picture and I could actually get rid of the picture and put my own photo in there, whatever photo I wanted. But this is what I did find when I used this template. These 3 columns can't be changed or moved. So I can change the title and I can change the wording, but I can't make this longer.
Oh my gosh.
I need y'all to mute your microphones, please. I could get rid of this picture down here with the cars, and that would give me room to type more information. But I found this to not be very user-friendly as a template. And I'm thinking this is their basic template. So, so beware if you go on and you play around with some of these templates, because maybe you're thinking of changing your newsletter to something different, and maybe you want to try something like this. You will find that not all templates are created equal, and some of them don't allow you to move text or move photos and things like that to customize it and make it your own. So there are more templates. Okay, so again, if you're on Word and you want to search for specifically a newsletter template, what you're going to do is click on that more templates link that I showed you. It's typically on the right hand side when you open Word. Okay, click on more templates, and then on the next page where it says search for online templates, click on that and type in newsletters. Okay, so you can use that search bar. I mean, you can search for all different kinds of publications, but if you're looking for newsletters, and then you're going to see, this is just a few of the newsletters that they have available as templates. Now, this is something else that I found out. Okay, and again, this is, I don't necessarily want to, diss Microsoft Word, but as far as creating newsletters, I'm not sure that this is really the best program to use. I tried to click on most of these, and when I opened them, again, I couldn't really move columns around. I couldn't move things. I could click on a text box and I could delete the text that was there and type in my own text, but I couldn't really make this bigger or longer. The same for this one right here. However, this one down here, this Tech Times. So if you want to change your newsletter or you want to create a new newsletter, this one allows you to change the text, move text boxes, change the colors and everything. So again, not all of these templates are created equal as far as using them as a template to set up your newsletter. I did create and modify this Tech Times one and put my own title in. I didn't call it Tech Times. And by the way, these notes under here, parent teach, these are just suggestions. All of these are templates. You can make them whatever you want. So don't worry about these headings. You can delete pictures and things like that and add your own. But here's what I would suggest with Word templates. Try them, play around with them, see which ones are user-friendly. See, you know, as I said, I created a sample front page using this Tech Times, and I added a CalRTA logo. I added text here. I changed out the picture. This left-hand column here, I changed the color and I put in my board members, stuff like that. So all you have to do is practice with them. You can't break them. You can't, you know, you're not going to delete them off the website, but it's a good way to practice. Okay, so I would use them for practice if nothing else. So let's talk about Publisher. Now, Microsoft Publisher, unfortunately, Mac users, you can't use Publisher with a Mac. Okay, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
If you have a PC, you can. Now, Microsoft Publisher oftentimes comes with a Microsoft 365 subscription, okay, because you get a variety of different programs. You get Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher. Those are usually included. So when I got my computers, those were already on there for me, part of my purchase. If you don't have that and you want to download Publisher, you can subscribe to it. So it's like $70 a year, or you can pay $6.99 a month and have Publisher on. You can download Publisher onto your computer. So very much like Word, when you open Publisher, you can choose to open a blank document like this, but there are also templates. They have some templates as well. So I just want to preface all of this by saying that, as I said, I started with Word when I was first brought on as a newsletter editor. I had never done a newsletter in my life. I had no idea what I was doing, but I found it to be pretty problematic and I got very, very frustrated. Once I discovered Publisher, I find this to be one of the easiest programs to use to for putting together a newsletter. I strongly suggest that you try it out. If you've been using Word all along, yeah, it takes a while to convert over to Publisher and make that Publisher document look the way you want it. But as far as what you can do with a Publisher document, you can do a lot more with Publisher than you can with Word. And you can move things around, increase text boxes, move pictures. It's a lot easier to use. So as with Word, you can access templates if you want to, or you can start with a blank form. I'm going to be showing both of those techniques on Friday. How to start with a blank form, and then how to alter a template that's offered for you. So as with Word, Publisher too, as I said, has templates. So like with Word, there's a link that says more templates. You click on that. Okay, I'm getting a lot of background noise. I need everybody to mute, please. Please mute your microphones. Search for online templates. You type in newsletters and you get quite a selection. Maybe not as many as you do with Word, but a pretty good selection. All of these are fully editable, okay? Meaning, if I wanted to use this one right here, this newsletter title one, I can get rid of this image and put a different image in. I can make this text box 2-column, 3-column, 1-column. Okay, so you can change a lot. You can change the color scheme. I don't like orange and green. Maybe I want blue and gold. You can change the color schemes very, very easily. So these are very easy. I would suggest you go on and practice with these. I created a sample front page newsletter using this one right here, the one with the books, and this Tech Times down here. Okay, so I used those as my templates, and then I just changed colors and moved things, and just to see what I could do. All of that was very, very easy. I suggest you play with this. Go in and just practice. Here's one of the templates that are offered. So again, to access this template, you would simply click create. This is a 6-page newsletter. It can be used for anything. Okay, if you want to add a heading up at the top, you can add a heading up at the top. You can delete anything that you see here. You can delete these words, you can delete this circle, you can delete this bar, you can switch this out, make this picture bigger, smaller, whatever you want to do. So it's, again, fully editable. These templates are very easy to use and very user-friendly. So all you would do is click on the create, and then you can click on sections, and you can add pages. This one already has 6 pages already set up for you. So you just have to switch out the, the text or the photos and make it your own and adjust it as needed. So again, I would strongly suggest that you practice on these and see if any of these will work for you. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Marilyn. Go for it.
Okay. If you're on a Mac, Pages comes with Mac, it's included. And the icon for it, starting it, of course, is across the bottom, the way all of the programs are. So to get started, you would open Pages and then click on New Document. And when you do that, this is the screen that shows up. There's the list on the left, and then there are all the different ones that you can scroll through. The easiest thing to do, of course, is to click on newsletters, and then the newsletter templates show up. It's much easier to do that than scroll around, but you can, if you scroll around, you can see what other kinds of templates they have. But the newsletters are pretty darn good. They're amazing. Okay, next slide. The available templates will show up once you click on the word newsletter templates in the first list. And you can easily choose one that you want to customize. I would use the classic or the simple newsletter simply because of the fairly simple masthead on those two. School newsletter also has a masthead across the top, but then I'd be dealing with colors or removing colors or something. But classic and simple are pretty basic, and you can do pretty much everything you want to do with them. Oh, I see. The journal newsletter. I don't quite understand that one. I don't like the templates that have these huge photos at the top. I don't care if they're in the middle or at the bottom, because obviously they can be removed. But when they're already placed at the middle or at the top, then you're going to have to do a whole lot of moving around. So why not start with one that has the main stuff on the first page where you want it in the first place, across the top. Okay. Customizing is easy with whatever template you like, or you can watch this MacMost video that's given here. And if you download the PowerPoint PDF that Sue sent you, this will be live. This link will be live if you want to get at this. This is really good. This guy puts out all kinds of things on Facebook and Twitter, and he has his own company, I guess, in a sense, because I know you can buy a subscription. I've never bought a subscription. I get all kinds of information from him. He's very good. When I watched this video, I watched it on my iPad and was trying out what he was demonstrating on my Mac, and it was amazing. He understands this stuff and he can explain it well. So anyway, that's a recommendation if you're going to use Mac Pages for your newsletter. This is really a good place to start. The choice, of course, is yours, whether to start totally from scratch and do your own, or use a template and then make it your own. Either way, his video will help you a great deal, whichever way you choose to go. Okay, next slide. This newsletter checklist is what I use to make sure I'm not going to miss anything before I run out of space, that is. That doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I get so many photos, I have to make sure different articles aren't left out. You can see that I've put board members' names underneath each type of article or submission that I'm expecting each month. And I put the join us text box at the top without a name because it's just a standard. I keep it right where it is, but I put it on this checklist because I want to make sure I don't do something ridiculous and remove it or move it and change its shape or something silly like that. So I make sure that it stays right where it has been from the beginning. And it's an infographic that we use. I've noticed that when I've been wandering around in different newsletters, I've noticed that Division 38 has taken the idea and made a very, very similar one for theirs. And it's in at least one or two other newsletters. I can't remember exactly the numbers, but I know 38 did, Jim Sterling. The point of that is that it's fairly small, and yet it gets people to the Join Us page on the state website. It's very easy. And I'd rather use this than a big membership form, because I'm not willing to give up half a page or even a third of a page. What would that be? That might be about 1/6 of a page that the infographic takes. Also, one of the things that Sue sent you and she referred to are the pages that she scanned out of the CTC handbook. Pages 30 through 32. These give you all kinds of good ideas about what to include, how to format things, what fonts are really good, for which purposes. Sans serif usually is good for headlines, titles, those kinds of things. Serif fonts are best for texts, the text part of any article. If you're not clear on what the difference is between the two, be sure you put something in chat or ask question at the end about what different kinds. But it also, in these pages, it also lets you know about font size. I've seen some newsletters and I'm just amazed. I know that opening them on the computer, I can zoom in and it's easily readable. But if those were in print, I probably would have a tough time. Of course, I'm next to blind anyway, as far as reading goes. But anyway, the pages 30 through 32 are excellent. And there's a checklist too on the either, I don't think it's on page 32, but it's on the last page of that section of CTC handbook. There's a checklist there too, which you can take and modify or make your own. Checklists work because if you have a deadline and everybody's submitting stuff on the deadline, you're going to need some way to organize what has come in, what hasn't come in, and what you'll be able to use and what you may need to shorten, edit, whatever you want to say. There's also a really good idea in there about writing good headlines and titles. And I remember Jim Sterling mentioning this several times, to make sure that the headline or title is not just a label. Make it an actual title, put a verb in there or something to make it so that people will know what to expect. So do take a look at those pages that Sue included in your email. Okay, next slide. In my division, it's been customary for over 20 years that I know of for different board members to send articles or information to be included. This practice is also stated in our standing rules. And that's what's meant by that first bullet there, job description. Part of the job description for different board members includes, and not every board member, but the ones who need to be submitting articles, have this as part of the standing rules. I rarely have to go hunting for information or filler articles because these come in and everybody and his uncle seems to be sending me photos these days, which is great. They send them in text messages and they come through a lot better than when they come through in email. I don't know why, but it does. But if I do want to look for something, if I do unexpectedly have a space I need to fill, I know where to go. You go to the state website, log in, and you should be on the members page, click on division resources and scroll down. It's a wealth of different things that you can use, graphics, articles, different kinds of ideas. It's really a gold mine. I have to say ask, I can't demand, because after all, we're all dealing with volunteers, right? I ask for a maximum of 250 words per article. And the board members are getting used to that. It's been a year since I have been asking for this, and some of them have figured it out, and some of them get carried away, and I end up with too much text and end up doing some editing myself. But I ask for a max of 250 per article, and that usually works. And you can teach people how to find word count in both Word and Pages. It's not hard. Some of them who like to write longer articles have figured out that they can make some of the words and phrases into hyperlinks. And so that's good, because I can do that for the digital edition that we sent out. Go back into their article and make those words and phrases into hyperlinks before I publish it. At board meetings, we agree on a deadline for each issue. And they always have to remember that in February, they need to be thinking about March. So this month ahead kind of confuses people every once in a while, but usually they're okay with it. But we usually agree on a deadline that is either the Friday or the Saturday after a luncheon. That means somebody can get pictures to me that we've taken at the luncheon, and it can be as recent as possible by the time it gets published on the first of the next month. When there's not a luncheon, we just come up with another logical date that everybody agrees on, depending on what's coming up. This usually occurs at the end. Our last luncheon each year is in April, but we publish at least a May article and sometimes also June, depends on how many photos I have of scholarship awards and teacher grants. And every article that a board member sends me, or anybody, whoever, because I've had articles from non-board members too, but everybody gets a byline and a photo, and of course, good editing, even if I have to shorten it to the 250 max. Okay.
Okay, well, Marilyn mentioned deadlines. Well, sometimes those deadlines come and go and you still haven't received anything from the folks that were supposed to submit something. What to do then? That's when most of us newsletter editors go into panic mode. And that's where our expertise comes in, and you have to be creative. Okay, so there are a few things that you can do. You can recycle things from your past publications. There are items in your past newsletters that are kind of timeless, that you can continue to, that you can bring out again. You know, it just simply reinforces what, you know, what people need to know. Okay, so don't feel that you have to have brand new stuff in every single issue. Bring in some of those things that you used before. Just go into your past publications and go find one of those kind of timeless items. It might be an infographic, it might be an article about a book club, things like that. So don't be afraid to use those recycled items. I added this link in here. Go into other divisions and click on, go to their website. All you have to do is type this in your search bar on your computer, and where those 2 X's are, you just put the number of the division. Click on newsletters, open up a newsletter and kind of check it out. What are other newsletters including? What are they writing about? Okay, I do this all the time. I just randomly put in numbers. And I'll pull up newsletters and go, oh my gosh, that's a great idea for an article. And I'll either borrow the article, giving credit to that particular division or the editor. And if you don't have the name of the newsletter editor, you don't have the name of the, you know, the president or whatever, again, you can go into the leadership directory on the CalRTA website, and you can type in those names and pull up their email address, and you can always ask them permission. But if you can't locate them and you do decide to borrow something, make sure that you give them credit. If nothing else, say that it came from Division 29 or whatever, okay? I put out this Share the Wealth document typically about once a month. And those have items that I have pulled. Some of them are infographics that I've created that you can just copy and paste, you know, and, you know, resize them or whatever into your newsletter. So if you are not on my Share the Wealth list, and I usually send that out to newsletter editors and maybe presidents, and you would like to be on that email list, you just simply send me an email to calrta.ctc@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that you get those Share the Wealth handouts. But those have a lot of ideas too. You know, if you're still struggling, you might have to reduce the number of pages in that particular newsletter. Sometimes you have to do that. That doesn't mean it's a permanent thing, but maybe for one issue, it's going to be a little shorter and a little more condensed than others, because you simply couldn't fill the spaces. And you can also go to that CalRTA resource library. And this is what it looks like. Sometimes you're going to see this logo on the front page of the CalRTA website. Sometimes you actually have to log in and it'll be on that members page. But the resource library has all different articles about all different things. It takes you to different websites. And you can get information from those sites as well that you could put into your newsletter. So, you know, sometimes we just have to think really fast and think on our feet. And when in doubt, send me an email. And say, hey, do you have an article that you can share with me? Absolutely. I've got all sorts of stuff that I can share with you. So don't hesitate to ask if you need. This has become very popular with divisions, the hiring of a professional graphic artist. More and more divisions are struggling to find a newsletter editor. They do have people who will submit articles, they'll write up stuff, but they don't have a person who can put it all together and make it look pretty. You may want to consider hiring a professional graphic artist to put together your division newsletter. Yes, it's going to cost money. You provide these people with the content, with the articles, photos, and things like that you want included in your newsletter, including the heading and a CalRTA logo, all of that stuff. And then they organize it into the layout. And they can work on it, and they're going to give you drafts until you kind of get it the way you want it. Once the layout is established, the layout probably isn't going to change a whole lot. And so each time you're ready to put out another newsletter, you simply send your information to this person, whoever it is, this professional, and they will create that newsletter for you. Obviously, it saves you time. It lowers your stress level for your division. Yes, it does cost money. It typically, and I had to look this up, about $25 an hour is the average cost for a freelance graphic artist. And of course, it can be more than that if they're kind of hoity-toity, fancy schmancy kind of graphic artists. But some people do this on the side because it's very easy for some of them to do. And I did get permission. Consider Carrie Dennis Designs. Now this is the graphic artist that works with our very own Director of Communications, Debbie Pate Newberry. Carrie does a lot of the creative stuff for the Contact magazine, among other flyers and handouts that CalRTA produces. If you go to her website or email her, you can get a quote from her, but she does work with some of our divisions in putting together their newsletters. And I'm not privy to what she charges. You would have to call her, contact her, and ask her. But I did get permission to put her contact information here. And Carrie says, yeah, it's really easy to do these newsletters. So it's easy for them. It's a struggle for some of us. So don't hesitate to seek out somebody to help you with that. One of the big questions that we get, and this is our last slide before we open it up to some questions and answers, is what's the best platforms for sending out newsletters? Well, I'm not sure what the best platform is. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. I use Gmail. Gmail used to be pretty restrictive as to how many people you could send a single email to at a time. They kind of removed that cap. I have sent out maybe 200 to 200 recipients in a single email attaching my newsletter, and nothing has come back. Nothing has bounced. So I think it's a very easy program to use. I personally like all things Google. I use a lot of Google programs and things. And they say it's a limit to 500 emails. That would be email contacts per day, not single emails sending out. But I'm not sure about that because I think, sent out more than 500. I send out to a variety of people, not only our members, but friends of our division. I send out to school districts. I send out to anybody who has applied with us for a teacher grant, anybody who has signed up for our pre-retirement seminars that we host on Zoom. I use all of those and I send out to all of those people. So it's quite a group. MailChimp, I know some people use MailChimp. I personally don't know anything about it. I've never used it. I've never tried to set it up. It is free for up to 500 imported contacts. So again, just like when you send out anything via email, you might have your contact list, or you may use Johanna Hobbs's Excel file with all of your members on it. If you use MailChimp or some other outside resource to send out your newsletter, remember that you have to keep updating that contact list. And according to Debbie Pate Newberry, she says MailChimp is a bit cumbersome as far as managing contacts. Now, of course, she sends out to a whole lot more people than most of us do, but it's free for up to 500 contacts, but it's $11 a month for unlimited. So if you send out more than 500 to 500 people, you're going to have to pay for it monthly. Constant Contact. I have received division newsletters from Division 39 and Division 41, and I think that there are some more out there that create their newsletters, and instead of it being an attachment like we do, we attach a PDF document. Constant Contact is like a newsletter in the actual body of the email. So you design it, and that is how it's delivered to recipients. It's pretty cool. It looks very, very nice. I have not tried the program. You may want to contact the newsletter editors from Division 39 or 41 and ask them about how it works, what they think about it. Yes, you do have to pay. But from all of the reviews that I have read, it is very, very user-friendly. So again, one of the questions that people asked was, how do I send out my newsletter in the body of my email, not as an attachment? Well, that's Constant Contact, okay? So, and if there are other programs that do that, I'm not aware of them. These are the 3 ways of sending out a newsletter that I'm most familiar with, or that I believe most of our people use. So before I stop my screen sharing, please take note of the emails down here. If you have any questions that are tech related, newsletter related, you can either send them to questionsforcalrta@gmail.com, or this one is my email, calrta.ctc@gmail.com. Send me an email at any time and I'll get back to you. Marilyn monitors this questionsforcalrta@gmail.com. She's on it multiple times a day checking. So please know that we will respond to your emails in a timely fashion. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and let's take a look at some of the questions that are in the chat bar. It's good to see faces now. Okay, sometimes I'm just having to look at a little dot up there. I'm learning how to look at the screen, so it's kind of weird. Okay, is there a Mac equivalent for Publisher? Marilyn, you want to address that?
Yes, I put it in there, but there are 2. One is a little more difficult to use than the other. Swift Publisher is one. I have it and I've played around with it some. And the other one is Affinity Publisher. And that's the one that I use for our email, for our newsletter nowadays. Both of them are good, but you need to locate tutorials for both of them. And sometimes you can get them through Apple's App Store, or just Google them and they'll end up as YouTube tutorials. But you will need tutorials for both of them. But as I said, I think Swift Publisher is a little bit less complicated. Affinity gives you really good results. So does Swift, but Affinity is definitely more techy, and I am still learning after a year.
Yeah. Okay, one of the other questions. I apologize if I duplicated page 31. When I send out a follow-up to this I will make sure that you have the right pages from the handbook. So seems like my head was in the clouds when I sent some things out this time around. I do apologize. I'll make sure that you guys have the right pages. I thought I scanned them correctly. Did I scan them, Marilyn?
Yeah, what you sent out was 30 and 31 twice, but really all the information is in 30 and 31. 32, page 32 is simply another checklist.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And you can find those to answer Lee's question. Yes, to get to the handbook. Okay. And again, it's like finding all things on the CalRTA website can be rather difficult. So when you log in on the CalRTA website and you get to that members page, okay, on the left-hand side, there's a blue menu and it's going to say programs and committees. Okay, programs and committees. Then you click on programs and committees and then you find, I think it's, I can't remember what it says, programs, but anyway, it says communications and technology. Okay, you click on that, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of that page and you're going to find a link to the handbook. Okay, so log in, members page, programs and committees on the left-hand side. Look for communications and technology, click on that, and then scroll to the bottom of the page, and there is a link to the handbook. Okay. Let's see. Any suggestions about obtaining clip art for Mac pages? Marilyn?
I usually just go into Google, and if I'm looking for Valentine's clip art, just put that in the search bar. You can also, if you want to, and they're usually not free, you can go into the App Store, and at the top of the left-hand column is a search bar, and just put in there whatever kind of clip art, or just clip art in general. You just put clip art and all sorts of things will show up. A few of them are free. Most of them are not. The ones that aren't free often are not terribly expensive, like $4 or $7 or something like that. But I'd use Google first. And one of my problems when I search for clip art is I'm usually looking for stuff with transparent backgrounds so that I can use a piece of clip art against whatever, a purple or a green or pink background without having the white rectangle around it. Those are difficult to find. Some of them say they're transparent, but what you end up with is a gray thing filled with dots.
Or checkerboard in the back.
Yeah, checkerboard. Those are not truly transparent.
Right.
There are ways to make clip art transparent, but they're tedious, very tedious. My grandson has done it for me a few times, and I don't ask him to do that anymore because it's just way too tedious. But Google first, and then you can go to the App Store and search.
Okay. Any other questions that are not in the chat? You can wave at us if you have a question. Go ahead, Ed. Unmute, please.
Yeah, for clip art, when I'm looking for images of anything, I go to Yahoo Images, which is free and has thousands and thousands of pictures on everything. I wanted to mention something about MailChimp. I use more than 500 people I have. It's probably 2,000, but not at once. Also, a good thing about MailChimp is you can categorize your list. So if you, and within the list, if you just want to send them to people in one school district, you can do that. And one final thing, if you want to send a Gmail, your newsletter via Gmail, so it shows up right on the text, I save the pages of my newsletter as photos, and then I add them that way.
Oh, yeah.
And you
Mhm.
just have to put a note on there that you need to click on the image to enlarge it because it doesn't come out big enough to really be easy to read. That's it.
And the only thing about that is you have to remember that if you include hyperlinks in your newsletter and you turn that page into a photo, those hyperlinks are not going to work.
Right.
And I use a lot of hyperlinks, so that would be problematic for me. But for newsletters that don't have a lot of hyperlinks, that would be good as well. Lynn, you asked a question here. Please address how to best get or send resolution for photos sent to the editor. Basically, I'm gonna share my screen, okay? And I'm gonna show you because I can't think of any other way to show you. Let me get rid of this. And let me find a photo. Let's see here. Oh, okay. All right, here's a photo of my kids. So if I need to find out the resolution of this photo, up here, I don't know, can you see the top here, this toolbar up at the top?
Yeah, it's
Click.
there.
Okay, on most, anytime you click on an image, you're going to find this eye in a circle. If you click on that, it's going to provide information about the photo. This right here, the size info, see this 2300 by 3067? That's perfect size. That's about what you want. Okay, at least according to Ron Scott, who we shared this info and the bigger the numbers, the better the image. Okay, so
Yeah.
even when you find images on Google Photos and or Google Images, I look for the largest images that I can find because I can then, if I make it smaller, it's still going to be clear. But if this number here is like 695 by 424, something like that, and if I enlarge it, it's going to be all blurry. So you're going to want to, I just look at this eye in a circle, and a lot of times you can get the information about the photo that way. So hopefully that helps. Okay, the bigger those numbers, the better the resolution. Lee, you have your hand up. Go ahead, unmute.
Yeah, I'm not finding, Marcia?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we've got two computers going, we're getting feedback all of a sudden. I'm not finding Swift Publisher on the App Store.
Huh. I'll see if I can find,
I don't know if
find
that's
it.
where Marilyn found it or elsewhere. Marilyn, you're muted.
Yeah, I'll hunt for it and I'll send it to you.
We'll send it in a follow-up email for all of you. Okay, so if there are
Okay.
other Mac users, we'll make sure that you get.
The other thing, Marcia, please. The other thing is that on the App Store, it shows that Affinity Publisher is free for 30 days and then there is a fee applied. Is that an annual fee or is that a one-time fee? And how much is it?
One time.
You're muted.
I'm muted?
No,
No?
she's not muted.
They're not muted. See, I tried to
It's
send
a-
Oh.
One
Okay,
One
let me
time.
turn it on.
They're answering.
Okay, Marilyn, go respond again.
Yeah, please.
It's a one-time fee. And what I have is version 1, and they've just come out with version 2. And of course, they want everybody to
Mhm.
upgrade, and that'll be another, I don't know what, $45 or something. My grandson tells me I don't need to upgrade it. I don't need version 2. Because he implied that if I get version 2, I'm going to have to live in his apartment for a while so he can teach me how to use it. I don't want to do that.
It also says that there are in-app purchases. So are significant features only available if you pay for them?
Not features of the program itself, no. Affinity, though, has several programs. I'm only interested in Publisher, but they also have different photographic, for people who want to fool around with photos and do all the fancy Photoshop type stuff.
Yeah.
I don't buy that stuff. I just buy the
Oh.
publisher and that's it.
Okay, we've got Lightroom, so we've pretty much covered there.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn.
Okay,
Sure.
Marcia?
I think you want to take off your sound.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Okay, my sound's off.
Okay, I put my question in the chat, but I'll ask it as well. My last newsletter, I put a hyperlink to an article that was on the state website. It was about basically tech safety. And I think, Sue, didn't you write that?
Probably.
Yes. Okay, so I took it right from, you sent it to us
Okay.
saying, if you want to use it, go ahead. And I thought, oh, this is a great article. So I embedded it, hyperlinked it. And then by the time the newsletter came out, which was honestly just like a week or two later, not even, no, about a week after I'd taken it, then I always, see if all my links are working. And it did take it to the YouTube station, but the YouTube shot up a message saying this video is no longer available. So I don't really want that to happen again because I, frustration on the part of my readers.
Oh, absolutely. That's very strange because I don't believe that anything's been, I don't think Debbie's deleted anything, so.
Well, the deal is, see, the link you gave me went right to YouTube. And YouTube discontinued it. The video is still available on the CalRTA state website, but it is not available directly to YouTube. And again, I used the link you sent me.
Oh, can you possibly send me that problem link? I mean, can you send me?
Actually, I think you already have it. It's in my newsletter. And if you go down to the article on, tech safety, be careful. Don't be scammed.
Yeah.
And you can tap on it and you'll see that it takes you to a YouTube page that says this link is no longer available. So just an FYI, and how do I avoid that in the future? But maybe you can answer that at a later date after you look it
Yeah,
over.
I need to go check that out and see what happened there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, and Hallie, go ahead.
Yeah, I end up doing a different newsletter for the online and for the ones that get mailed out because we can't afford color, and I do a different newsletter. But what I do a lot of times is I go to TinyURL and I make a smaller link for things that have to be clicked on for the one that's not online, because it takes up less space and it's easier for people to just copy a small thing. So if you just go to TinyURL, it's free and it's very easy to use. And you get a much smaller, you get something that maybe had 40, letters or whatever, and it takes it down to about 12.
I'm actually going to show how to use TinyURL on Friday.
Okay.
I'm going to take a ginormous, URL with a combination of letters and numbers that make no sense, and we'll take it down to about 10 letters, and it actually creates words that people can read and understand. So that's helpful too. Okay, we're going to take, I'm going to take one or two more questions, but we're already over time. So go ahead, Lee.
Sorry. Are hyperlinks preferable to a tiny URL, or are they pretty much the same thing?
Well, hyperlinks, if you create a hyperlink, usually they're very long, especially if you just copy a URL and you paste it into your newsletter, it's going to be super long. But if you want to shorten that, using TinyURL is very beneficial, because you take that giant link and you paste it into the spot on TinyURL, and it says create alias, and then it shortens it and it creates something, and then you press the copy button, and that copies the URL, and you just paste it into your newsletter. Pretty easy.
Yeah. I understand that. Marcia typically uses a single word or just a very short phrase that indicates where they're going, but obviously it covers the actual URL.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and you can link your own words or phrases that are in your newsletters, and that's an option too. And again, I'm going to cover those on Friday. So, okay, Diana, you mentioned that my directions on looking at the size of pictures isn't working. I will see if I can put something together, but you have your hand up, so I'm going to ask you. Go ahead.
That was all. And because I know you're busy and trying to get out, I didn't know if you would get a chance to read the question.
Yeah, I have it. So I will see if I can figure out an easy way to find that information about photos. So Marilyn and I will put our heads together and we'll put together some instructions. So, okay, I think we're going to call it a day. I do hope that this has been helpful to you. If you have not registered for Friday's training, but you would like to join us, I can send out the link to you in a follow-up email along with a number of other things. So feel free to click on that. I'll take people signing up and registering for that until basically till Thursday. Okay, and then I'll probably shut it down. Jeff, hand up.
Is the link for Friday the same as the one for today?
No, I sent out, I will be sending out a new link for Friday. It is not the same, okay? Sometimes that gets confusing for people, but you will receive a link for Friday's training probably on Wednesday would be my guess, okay? So thank you all for joining us. I hope you found it to be beneficial. We will make sure that we follow up with and answer some of your questions. And I hope to see you all on Friday. So have a good rest of the week and you all take care. Okay, be safe. Bye now.
Bye.
Ciao, y'all.